7 out of P8. And I don't want to miss out on hyperpole or whatever it is. No, don't brake. Exactly. You do short, the short brake and lift. It's okay, I think. Yeah, it's better to lift throttle. Yeah. So you reduce the speed and then you do short brake. I was doing this when you said that, but I reduced the speed and I tried to smaller brake, the big brake.
We are at Le Mans for the 2020 running of the 24 hours with no crowd on site, only teams, officials, marshals and medical and rescue crew, as well as a skeleton crew of just 100 journalists and photographers compared to, well, 10 times that number that would normally be at this legendary race. And the winners last year, the second race in the Super Season, Toyota number 8 won outright in an LMP1. Senior Tech Alpine going for a hat-trick in LMP2. AF Corsa winning in the GTE Pro class. And the qualifying records, and that is germane because we now head into qualifying. Yes, yes, on the Thursday, yes, and it's not a nighttime session. Yes, 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 that much is different as well. And the free practice session has just finished. So far, in 6 hours of track time, we have lost over 1.5 hours of running to red flags, and that does not include full course yellows, slow zones and everything else. So nobody has worked through their program, but qualifying is coming at them like a train in a tunnel. Graham Goodwin, it's different in so many ways this year, isn't it?
So very many ways. Thank you so much for joining us for what is still going to be, well, for all sorts of reasons, an historic Le Mans 24 hours. Good news there, though, was Bruno Senna climbing aboard the #1 Rebellion that lost the vast majority, in fact, almost all of that session undergoing an engine, and I think gearbox change as well, after Gustavo Menezes had reported clutch issues on his outlap. If you weren't with us for free practice 2, massive dramas for EDEC Sports. Reigning European Le Mans Series champions, running 2 cars here with the addition of the Era Motorsport-owned chassis, the number 17 car. Both of those cars in the wall within about, what, 20 minutes?
And the red car, their regular number 28 car, will not be out. 17 car, no definitely chance. Not. They didn't even look at it.
No.
G-Drive with 2 cars here, one run as normal by the normal team that races in European Le Mans Series and occasional World Endurance Entries, TDS is correct. The other car run by Algarve Pro, so that's car number 16. And the car number 16 got out right at the very end of that 3-hour session, only for 5 or 6 or 2 or 3 flying laps with Nick Tandy, because that had brake issues.
It looks that way, yeah.
Well, that's what the team is saying. Stuart Cox said, yes, they believe from what the driver said that they had brake issues.
Not the first time we've had 2 G-Drive cars run by separate teams, of course. Back in the year where they won the European Le Mans Series Championship, with their effectively lead car run by Dragon Speed, they had a second car run by Graf. So it's a G-Drive brand, as the team name comes to the brand. G-Drive, for those who
it's a fuel company.
It's a fuel station company. It's part of the big Gazprom empire in Russia, and one of the biggest fuel station networks in the Russian Federation.
Yeah, so it's all part of a big, sprawling empire, and they are clearly very keen on supporting their teams. Now then, so what happens in qualifying? 45 minutes, free for all. Everybody goes out, sets laps, and there is no, as in there is in World Endurance, average of 2 laps by the 2 fastest drivers. It is the fast lap that will get them through into their grid positions, with the exception of the top 5 in each class, which will be set in a new on-track session which has never existed before, which was always due to be introduced this year, called Hyperpole, where there will be 5 cars from each of our 4 classes, so 20 cars on track, and each of them going for that one desperate flying lap to try and secure the top spot in their class, the pole position for the Le Mans 24 Hours. Interesting entry from Dragon Speed USA with Timothy Bouret, with Memo Rojas, and with the return to Le Mans of Juan Pablo Montoya, return to racing in Europe even. When was the last time Montoya raced in Europe?
It was here. Raced, was it 2-3 years ago for United?
United, yeah. He was in one of the United cars a few years ago.
That was their first year here, wasn't it?
And I think it was the first Le Mans of the super season, because he was here with Alonso in the same race.
Yeah. There we go.
And it was with Ligier at the time as well.
18, I think he did it. But the names, you look down this entry list, and even beyond the two pro classes. In Pro Amal, the length, the talent there is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, there is. There's some fantastic CVs throughout this grid. It's really, really quite incredible. There's one there, Antonio Felix da Costa, someone that probably should have made his name in Formula 1, but has really brought it to the fore again in Formula E, and also in the World Endurance Championship as well.
Have we got all the Formula E champions on the grid?
No, Lucas de Grassi is not
Lucas de Grassi isn't here. Correct.
And Nelson Piquet is not here.
Yeah. Oh, that's true too, but he's raced here before. Has de Grassi ever raced at Le Mans?
Yeah, he was Audi for a long time, remember?
So he was. Yep. So he was.
Tended to become the first Brazilian ever to win the Le Mans 24 Hours, didn't he?
Yeah, that's an amazing stat, actually, that a Brazilian has never won outright this race, and what they've done in the sport, but never quite achieved it. One Brazilian there, Bruno Senna, was in the Rebellion, and he was looking, and is looking, to try and achieve it. Nick de Vries, who was quickest in FP2, a blinding 3:27 lap, about a second quicker than anybody else, and he's waiting to get into his car, but the engine cover was off that car.
Massive panic at the back. It looked to me like a compression tester. Now, I don't know if you do that in motor racing, but if it was an older car, it looked like they had a compression tester, so I'm not quite sure what the major drama is.
Well, that car itself is run as well. You're talking about G-Drive. It's run by the same team called TDS as well. Aston Martin, the 95 car there. But remember, this is 45 minutes long.
Yep.
And so therefore, if you don't get out in the first minutes, you're better to wait anyway, because you're going to get a load of traffic. So from that perspective, I don't think it's lost.
10,
Here's race director,
9,
Eduardo Freitas.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have started qualifying for the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
And heading out is the Graf Racing entry in LMP2, a team that regularly competes in the European Le Mans Series and in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. James Allen, the Australian, at the wheel of the SO24 by Graf, car number 39, one of 24 LMP2 cars. We got 22 GTE AM cars, so the non-factory supported parts of this field are by far the overwhelming majority. The factory cars, 8, it was 6 in GTE Pro of the 8 cars, and 2 essentially in LMP1.
And that shows, Martin, the success of what's been introduced over the last few years to ACO Rules Racing, this pyramid system with the Continental Series in Europe and in Asia. And in better times, we have seen a far more healthy level of cars from the United States as well, but more at the moment, travel restrictions are making that very much more difficult. Stories galore everywhere, including this one, the number 50 Richard Mille Racing car.
One of 2 all-female crewed cars. There's one in LMP2, that was it, the Richard Mille team. Tatiana Calderon due to take the car out now, and there's one in the GTE AM class as well. Returning winner Nick Tandy in this number 16 G-Drive car, the one that had brake issues that made it miss most of the session. He went out and it was immediately on the money though. And this is going to be really frantic. Normally we look for qualifying laps in the cool of the evening, in the 10 to midnight session, either on Wednesday night or on Thursday night. So we're kind of a day late and $1 short and a few hours early, and everything is not as it would be, could be, or should be. I see the mingling of the teams here. Guy from G-Drive helping out at Racing Team Netherlands.
Well, it's in the same camp. That's TDS that's running both of those cars, but it looked to me, because there was also someone on the front left as well that are actually doing leading the brakes. And if we think back to the problem Algarve Pro had, where the 16 car was in for most of that second session, it's not normally an issue for brakes around here. It's not a difficult circuit for brakes, but you do definitely need a lot of confidence in that brake pedal. And I do know from a fact, Nick de Vries is not the tallest man in the world, which means his pedal throw on his foot is minimal. So if you've got a long, and if you've got a sort of basically a long pedal, then you've got to stretch. And here is quite a difficult place to do that. So it's an important thing to get sorted out. The IDEC car, both of them, they had crashes in free practice too, and will not be competing in this qualifying session. Independent crashes, there were 2 red flags, a total of 45 minutes lost in that free practice 2 session, and it was caused by, unfortunately, the same team.
And they're already into what would normally be a full Friday rebuild of the car. The red car, which crashed first, has had the entire rear end taken off. That was an engine just waiting to be taken out, I think, so they will now rebuild them for the race. There is a warm-up on Saturday morning, 15 minutes to shake things down. There is an hour of free practice Friday, tomorrow morning, 10 to 11, and they have devoutly got to hope they get the cars out there. Meanwhile, who is in the Graf Racing entry?
Don't know, but he's got a fantastic run because he's clear. Yep. There's the 39 car that's up ahead, and apart from that, that's an Orica, the Hasby Graf, which is pretty quick. But apart from that, he's got a clean run all the way, I would say, to the first chicane. The next cars are at the first chicane.
Well, it is being shown as James Allen, and he was the first man out of the pit lane. So now, coming out here, this is going to be Nick de Vries, and he will go out into traffic, but he was unbelievably fast in this LMP2 car earlier on. He was in amongst the LMP1s on pure pace, and so it could be very interesting to see what he can produce. Here's one of 3 Iron Lynx run Ferraris, 2 with all-male crews and a 3rd with their all-female crew. And there's the 17 car being stripped down in the Algarve Pro, I beg your pardon, in the IDEC Sport Garage. The Gibson engine that produces the power for all of these LMP2 cars. And of course, most of the field are also in the Orica chassis. There is 1 Dallara and 3 Ligiers. 89 orange backing to the numbers on a car means it's a GTE AM class car. 1 orange light on the side means it's the leader in the class. 2, it's second. 3, it's third. None, it's not on a podium position on the scoring.
A little bit more about this kind of ladder pyramid system. This car we're watching at the moment, the number 89 car, the 3rd Team Project 1 car. Team Project 1, the most successful one-make Porsche racing team in history. But the 89 car was a GTE Pro car last year. It was the 94 car for Core Autosport here this last year. So that shows again the way that this GT marketplace is still functioning. 89 car ready to go, just lacking some obvious details.
Yeah, have a little look at the Toyota as we're sitting in the pit seeing the LMP2 most likely going to be one of the competitive cars going out the pit lane with Dragon Speed there, but the Toyota of Nakajima is now quickest in the 1st and 2nd sector. We're now on board with the sister car actually with Kamui Kobayashi, but it's Kazuki Nakajima that's the quickest man around, and he is a good 3/4 tenths of a second quicker than Kobayashi we're riding on board with, as he's now coming down towards Indianapolis and then Arnage.
Don't forget, number 8 is looking for a hat-trick of wins here. Won last year, won the year before. Kaz Nakajima and Seb Buemi were both in the team then with Fernando Alonso. Alonso is not here racing at Le Mans this year, but Brendan Hartley is in that car. But it's the number 7 car that has had the better World Endurance season and leads the points. So number 8 is still trying to catch them up in the championship.
It's the sister car ahead of him on track, Al.
Yes,
and
it
I
is.
think he's got traffic as well. He's just gone up the inside of the Orica, of the entrance to the Porsche curves. And I wonder whether or not that's just taken the edge off that lap.
It has definitely taken the edge off the lap, but the important thing is Kobayashi is going to get that traffic at the end of karting corner as he's coming through here, so it'll lose the momentum as he comes out. And it's not too bad. It's an LMP2 car, so it's probably okay, but he will be restricted a little bit, I think, by the time he gets into the Ford chicane.
It's the Graf car. And of course, the LMP2 car has already been dive-bombed by number 8. So if that's given him a wake-up call, number 7 might get a chance to get through. Oh, squirreling off the curbs, James Allen in the LMP2, red, white, and blue of Graf. And Kobayashi, 1/4 of a second up.
Last sector, it was all about that last sector. You see Kobayashi went in really deep into the chicane, ran a little bit wide, but didn't get quite held up as much as what his teammate did in the entry to the Porsche curves.
3:17.089 for Kamui Kobayashi. That is very, very rapid indeed. This
What's the record?
session.
15.
Right, okay, that's the start to the session. Don't forget, we got Hyperpole tomorrow as well, when the track will be hopefully a bit more rubbered in, although at 11:30 in the morning it might not be quite as hot as this, and that might help the tyres as well. Looking in our LMP2 class, we're on board the 38 Jota Sport car. That has just gone third with Antonio Felix da Costa. He gets eased down to fourth as Mathieu Vaxivière is third for Panis. Second, Jean-Eric Verne for G-Drive. He's just gone ahead of Kenta Yamashita, but Will Stevens for Jackie Chan DC Racing on the Goodyear tyre has the fastest lap first time around.
Just from Paul di Resta, who we saw cross the line 0.08 of a second behind. The difference between first and second. Will Stevens in a Goodyear shod car, Paul di Resta in a Michelin shod car. Two different teams, absolutely nothing between them. Verne in the G-Drive is in third, and then, as you said, Kenta Yamashita in fourth in high-class racing. Very strong performance there. Da Costa down in fifth in the other Goodyear. So it's a balance. Top six, 3 Goodyears, 3 Michelin so far.
Absolutely, but look at the talented LMP2. Will Stevens, ex-Formula 1 driver. Paul di Resta, ex-Formula 1 driver and DTM champion. Jean-Eric Verne, ex-Formula E champion and Formula 1 driver.
And the graphic on the screen, particularly significant because the top 6 there shown as going through into Hyperpole from this class, and 97 thousandths between 5th and 6th. A big 6/10 gap back to the 39 graph car of James Allen, so that's going to take something special. Alex Brundle now goes quicker than him. Brundle is in 7th in the 32 United Autosports car. That car a winner in the season opener in European Le Mans Series. The 22 has won the last couple of races. So it is very close indeed at the top of LMP2.
Had the first track lap limit deleted. Car 86 has lost his lap on lap 2 for track limits. And that's...
Ben Barker.
Yeah, but it's also, I don't think, going to be the first or the last. No, but well, it is the first. It's not going to be the last.
Sadly for Ben and for Gulf Racing, that is the car that has set the fastest lap of the session so far in GTM, and that car is not going to keep that lap. Yeah. That will put Ross Gunn at the top of the GTM class at the moment with a 3:52.778.
Now it said lap 3 deleted.
That's lap 2 as well.
Oh, lap 2 and 3, okay.
So I told you it wasn't going to be the last.
Yeah. So Ross Gunn at the top of the pile from Matt Campbell, the young Aussie in the Dempsey Proton Porsche, and Charlie Eastwood for TF Sport Aston Martin in 3rd. That's GTE AM. In the Pro class, Alex Lynn, who set the fastest lap in the last free practice for Aston Martin Racing, is on top, ahead of Michael Christensen in the 92 Porsche. It was Alex Lynn. Marco Sorenson set the fastest lap for the 95 Aston, and Augusto Farfus was the fastest man in the 98 Aston, which is the AM class AMR entry. On board with Sorenson, quarter of a second up, and 53 thousandths in front of his teammate Alex Lynn. It's an Aston Martin 1-2, Porsche 3-4 with Jimmy Bruni in 91 and Michael Christensen in 92. And that's it. Job done. Kamui Kobayashi walks away from the car and hands it over to who's going to go out and do something in the last 33 minutes.
Well, I would keep a little eye on it because Nakajima's just gone quicker again in the first sector as we see a replay of Ben Hanley, who was in that 27 Dragon Speed car, and he had a lap deleted earlier on.
He was running way wide. I wonder if he saw the G-Drive car coming, just got out of the way. 2.3 seconds off the qualifying lap record, by the way, which for Kobayashi was a 3:14.791.
Henrik Hedman in the underwear there. The racing underwear, obviously. Everybody's in underwear, I'm assuming.
Everyone has to have underwear. You get fined €10,000 if you don't.
Only if you're a racing driver. I'm not sure about the rest of the garage. I'm not venturing too far down that path. Ben Barker with another quicker lap. Purple in sector 2. He's towing up behind the TF Sport Aston, another AM class car, the 90 car.
There you can see the target to get into that hyper pole at this moment in time, a 3:54. Keep an eye on that lap, as now they're coming up to the final chicane, just following the TF Sport 90, as you said, bouncing over the curbs. He's kept it nice and neat, but it's going to be that critical point now of crossing the line underneath that 3:53 as it's now gone to.
That Ferrari red Aston was third. Ben Barker has used the slipstream off that red car to go quicker than Charlie Eastwood. So Ben Barker goes up to third in the 86 car. 90 shown as second, but not on the timing screen on my computer. That's unsurprising.
Looking at Nakajima, purple in both the first two sectors. And this is a very quick lap indeed. 0.4 of a second up at the moment on the pole time.
Very, very quick middle time there by Nakajima. He's round into coming towards the Porsche curves as we're watching the other end of the circuit coming down through the S's from the Dunlop chicane. And the Ferrari's running through. AF Corsa, that's in the 71.
Yeah, that is in at the moment, isn't it? The two Aston Martins, AMR racing cars, 95 and 97. The two factory Porsche GT entries, 91 and 92. And 82. Risi competition, thanks to Le Mans resident, former Le Mans resident, Sébastien Bourdais.
And unfortunately, we're not quite hitting the other Toyota at the moment. As
Well, here's the Graf car, James Allen still at the wheel, trying to find another quick lap. Car is currently 8th in the class, needs to be 6th to go through into hyperpole.
Nakajima abandons that lap. It would have been quicker. He did have traffic through the Porsche curves, but would have been quicker in certainly the first half of that lap. It will not improve from his 3:17 and 3:36. Both the Toyotas in the 3:17s. Then the next best, 3:24, and it's not a rebellion, it's the Bicolis.
But it will be a rebellion soon, because Bruno Senna in the rebellion #1. He is on his quick lap and coming towards the end of it as well. And so I think it's going to be a rebellion, but the question is can it get underneath that 3:20?
Well, Bruno's just done a 3:21.628.
So the answer to the part of the question is no.
Not yet. Brakes like dinner plates on all these cars. Romain Dumas for Rebellion in the #5 car, only 19th fastest at the moment, so he's behind 14 LMP2 cars with the lap that he has set so far. He's on a quick lap though. Looking at Nick de Vries, purple sector 1, purple sector 2.
3:27.888.
That's to get ahead of the 38 Jota Sport car, which is in the pit lane, presumably receiving tyres. And a nice, neat run through the final chicane. Comes across the line, 3rd fastest.
Tell you, that time of Will Stevens is pretty blooming good.
Yep. He's done a bit though, hasn't he, Will?
He's definitely done a bit.
Got form.
He's another one that's they're not the tallest, is he? Oh.
He's Will and Nick are definitely of the average height. Paul di Resta's been, he's like the Jolly Green Giant in that respect.
5'8", 5'9".
Somewhere about there.
Yes. He doesn't use fractions when people ask him how tall he is. Porsche Junior driver Julian Andlauer, a regular front runner in the Mobil 1 Super Cup. In the Dempsey Proton car, dives into the pits. So he is coming in for a new set of tyres. Mike Conway and Sebastian Buemi on outlaps for Toyota Gazoo Racing. And Anders Fjordbach heads out to the pits for high class. So we're starting to see cars going out. Nico Lapierre, team boss and owner and driver at Cool Racing. He heads out in the 42 car, one of a number of cars that went off in either Free Practice 1 or Free Practice 2. And there is the 90 Aston Martin, the AM class car, in 2nd place at the moment in GTE AM. Charlie Eastwood sharing with Sally Yolok and Johnny Adam.
One tiny point to remember, not for this evening's session, but for Hyperpole, is of course there's a World Championship point up for grabs here as well.
Look at the difference here in GTE AM between 6th and 7th. That's 0.5 of a second. 49 thousandths of a second between 6th and 7th. Imagine missing out by such a tiny margin. And right now, the 99 car is the one that is just needing to find a little fraction more pace. So 99 is the car we saw Julian Andlauer.
Approaching halfway through this session, and just looking here, gentlemen, for those that really feel they should be in that top 6, and there's a fair number of them.
Well, Marco Sorenson definitely is in that top 6, part of the Dane train there. Just talking about the lap, and he's in a very good position. They're leading the World Championship, and also looking as if they've got two things. One, the speed, but very importantly, the confidence to pull this one off. Even in the difficult races I've had in the World Endurance Championship so far, when it's maybe not gone quite their way, they've fought back very, very well. And clearly at the moment, on pole with their teammates in second.
Now you've got to question what's been going on with the 51 Ferrari. We're looking at it on screen as well. This is one of the 2 factory-backed World Endurance full season entries. So this is a full fat driver lineup, and they're behind the WeatherTech car, which Tony Vilander brought into the pits a few minutes ago. So these guys need to find some pace, and they need to find it in a hurry. If they miss out on Superpole, it'll be a bit more Ferrari Formula One than they like. Who just left those tyre marks and the dust?
May I say that if you look at historically all the way through the season so far, when it comes to the race, they get better and better and better. And that's through a 6-hour race. If you think of a 24-hour race, then they're going to be in the mix, no question. The other thing is, I'm not quite sure they've always shown their hand as much as what they maybe could have done in qualifying either.
Yeah. Well, their regular driver lineup, joined by Daniel Serra, so it's Alessandro Pierguidi, James Collado, Daniel Serra. Serra, a refugee from the 98 Aston Martin, where he raced here for a few seasons. He was the 3rd driver in that car for a couple of years. LMP2 looking again at the gap, 97 thousandths, the Jota Sport car out of Hyperpole at the moment. That is still in the pits, actually, so waiting for another shout.
Mathieu Xavier coming through. He's popped himself up into P6 on the last run and last attack. This lap isn't any quicker, though, and as he crosses the line, but Mathieu is very, very quick, extremely aggressive, though. And in that respect, he certainly will muscle something out of it in a lap time, and get as high up, I would say, as probably anybody that certainly in that lineup.
Brendan Hartley, thumbs up from the Kiwi, who spent most of lockdown at home in New Zealand and returned to Europe much more recently. 91 getting a wash and brush up, Shea Porsche. Anders Fjordback, currently the high-class entry, is in Superpole. 47, the only Dallara chassis in LMP2. This is the Settler entry.
Sitting 15th at the moment in the qualifying order. Those 22 of the 24 LMP2 cars out on track for this session. Neither of the EDEC Sport cars, as we said, will make it, with 2 accidents within about 20 minutes. Putting both of those cars in for
I've got to say, I'd be surprised if we see them before warm-up. It's going to be a long night before the 10 a.m. free practice 4 session tomorrow, and there's a lot of work to do on both cars if both cars have got intact chassis. So I have to wait and see exactly what happens with them.
Romain Dumas continues to plug away at bringing down the times for number 3 Rebellion car. That's in 5th overall at the moment. Also on a bit of a quick lap at the moment, and out of position in terms of where you'd normally expect to see him. And the number 42 Cool Racing car is Mr. 100% in the LMP2 front, Nico Lapierre. 4 times he's contested this race in LMP2. He's raced in LMP1 as well, but never been beaten in this class. Here.
High class Anders Fjordback coming across the line. Dane doesn't improve even remotely on that lap, but he stays in the top 5. Here's the quick lap we were hoping for from Alessandro Pierguidi. Target is a 3:52.9. And it'll be him or the other car, because it's either going to be 71 or 51. One of them has got, unless there's a tie to the 1,000th of a second, and he comes up 1,800 short.
Oh, one of them's still got to get in.
Well, yeah.
Even if there is a tie, it'll be on who did the lap time first in that occasion.
So that's a shame. You should have 7 in the top 6 if there's a dead heat. Who's lost a lap? The high-class car. And does that drop them? That wasn't the lap, that was the last lap.
That was an early lap from Kenta Yamashita.
Lap 5 deleted, he's only done 5, so it was in fact it was the last lap. That car's only done 5, so it was the fuel back lap that got deleted.
And talking about cars not having done many laps, Nick Tandy in the Algarve car, then he's now 20th. He's done a 31.555, which is actually the car's fastest lap of the day so far. It did a 32.0 in FP1, didn't really run very much in FP2, and has now popped himself into 20th, but I'm sure we'll go again, not on this next one though, because he's not very quick in Sector 1.
See how tight the pit lane is. Some teams that have got multiple, particularly LMP2 cars, having to park them in herringbone style just to get 2 in consecutive garages. Green lap for Cool Racing's Nico Lapierre. Best for the car so far. It is 11th in the category, 16th overall.
Looking to improve here, faster in both the first 2 sectors for Lapierre.
WeatherTech Ferrari's in the way though, really in the way, and that's going to hinder his speed to the line. He's going to have to go again probably. So 10th place, moved up 1 spot. But you got to think he probably lost a second or so in that chicane at least. GT Pro, Aston Martin 95-97, that's 1-2. Factory Porsche GT cars 3-4. And in 5th position is the 82 car. And so that is the Risi Competizione Ferrari ahead of the 2 factory entered AF Corsa cars.
Could that be one of the big stories here? One of the factory cars not going to make the cut.
I know a few of the, all of the Risi team would be very, very impressed with themselves for that.
Gap, by the way, 6th to 7th, so we just see the progression stripping down that tub.
Yeah, with still more bits coming off.
Which tends to indicate they're going to swap the tub.
No, they're getting the self-contained dry sump oil unit and everything off it as well, so.
So the gap between 6th and 7th in LMP2, less than a 10th of a second at the moment.
Driver change in the number 3 Rebellion. So Bruno, is that Bruno Spengler getting in?
Hope not, he's not driving that car.
Number 3 Rebellion?
He might get a penalty if he is.
Oh no, so I beg your pardon. No, so it was Louis Delatraz reading across the wrong line.
So the Bicolis car at the moment, 4th. No improvement for a while for that car, but on its way back out with Ollie Webb aboard the number 4.
Look at Alessandro Pierguidi's progress on this lap, from half a second up to 1.5 seconds back.
Yeah.
This isn't going well, is it, at all?
They're either very, very happy with that car or more unhappy than a human being's ever been.
Is it the Ferrari malaise? What's the French for malaise?
He's done 3 laps on it, and they've all been not very quick.
Yeah. Well,
his teammate Davide Rigon's done 5 laps and was 3 seconds quicker. So I think there's something.
Oh.
As an average, apologies.
Yeah. Great looking classic. You could see that being the front end of a 250 LM, couldn't you, from the mid-60s with the huge numbers on the front.
Yep.
Well, that Lucic Racing entry. Com Ledigar, another very experienced Porsche driver. In fact, so much so that although he's no longer racing in Porsche Super Cup himself, he's running a team that is, and yet he's here as a Ferrari racer. But I love that livery, and of course they've got to have the standard, you know, mandatory colour panels alongside, but just having the big numbers on it just looks so cool.
Car shared with, that's 61 is the Lucic car, isn't it? So that's the car that's got Com Ledigar, Osnegri Jr. and Francesco Piavanetti.
That's a wild names drawn out of a hat lineup, isn't it? I don't know what relationship any of them have previously had to each other.
I can tell you, I mean, certainly the last 2 seasons we've had Oz and Francesco in the Asian Le Mans series together, and punching hard to try to get into the Le Mans 24 Hours Championship win.
Oz has spent a decade racing in IMSA,
Yep.
Ledegaard has been racing entirely in Europe, certainly up until this season. Whatever season there has been up until now, very little of it. So they're kind of just, okay, somebody's cobbled together a team of very disparate parts.
I think Com's still managed by, trying to recall, Sébastien Dumas.
And that is often the link, isn't it? A manager who also is a friend of the team owner or what have you.
Who, by the way, is the team manager for the Settler Racing Dallara. It's a very tight-knit family, of course. Again, I'm intrigued by the way the rhythm of this last 17 minutes is going to work in LMP2. I'm looking at the cars further down the order. There are some big names there that are not at the moment going to get into Hyperpole and need to push. They include Ben Hanley, Alex Brundle, Nico Lapierre, Tristan Gomendy, perfectly capable of getting cars right up at the sharp end. And Pablo Montoya, Thomas Laurent.
Remember, Hanley had a lap that was disallowed for track limits.
But singly out of place at the moment is the number 36 car. This is the defending champion here at Le Mans in LMP2. In fact, has won the last 2 races out of a total of 3 that team has won. And they'll want a bit of qualifying glory to add to their news headlines this week.
One of the ones that you're talking about here is Alex Brundle coming into Porsche, and on this lap he's 4/10 up, so this looks like it's something that's going to be punching into that hyper pole. At the same time could be punching actually right up to the top of the timesheets. Remember, his teammate Paul Di Resta is second on a 27.177. And at the moment, Brundle, if this traffic is out of his way, which it is, so he's going to have a clean run in towards the Ford chicane. And I think he's going to be pretty close to the mark.
Yeah, certainly should be in the top half dozen, in the top 5, maybe even second or third. 80 thousandths of a second between first and second. Where does he come across the line? 4th place, all right. And so what's the gap?
He's 3 thousandths ahead of Jean-Luc Verne.
It's 3/10 of a second to the...
Wow.
Or 2.5 tenths of a second, basically.
Yeah.
Here's Montoya.
So what are his times looking like?
He's got traffic, though.
And he's lost time in the second sector as well. Slipped back a bit, but how close will he be to the cut-off?
He won't.
No. Oh, but yeah, Toyota's meandering around, getting in the way.
It's Thomas Laurent as well, still not going quickly in that 36 car.
Of course, last time Thomas Laurent raced a car, he had a very big accident at Spa.
Got to say, Brundle's lap time's just been deleted. Lap 5.
Oh.
Don't know which lap it was he did his time on, though.
And while we've been watching him, by the way, a further improvement from Nick de Vries. 3:26.648 goes to the top of time and scoring in LMP2. 29 racing in Netherlands to the top of those, the 22 car order we've got in this session.
Well, Brundle shown as having only completed 5 laps, so if lap 5 has been deleted, that was the last one, which was the quick one, wasn't it?
Or it could be the one he's on.
On board with Sophia Flörsch. No, because he's shown as having done 5 laps, and they've deleted lap 5.
Yeah, but normally the time goes away, Martin, if it's that lap that was the fastest one. That's why
it's been taking them about 30 to 45 seconds to delete those times after we see the message. So I think we will see him go.
Out of Mulsanne corner. This is an interesting story, isn't it? A bit of a star-crossed team. Yeah, the Toyota was looking to come into the pits and waiting for the Senior Tech car to get out of the way, I guess.
I think he didn't want to affect the Signitech by overtaking and then diving into the pits.
Agreed. I think the Senior Tech car was going slower than he thought it was probably due to as well.
I wonder if the Signitech car was waiting for him to get by, so he had a bit of space, so it's all a bit of a misunderstanding, really. I
think there was quite a lot of after you clauding. Brundle's time has now been deleted. He's back down to 9th. Here is the 22 United Autosports car, though, that still remains 3rd. Behind it, 37 Jackie Chan DC Racing car and the 91 Porsche, all in the garage. And at least there's some red cars going quickly, even if they're not Ferraris.
Wants to watch the moment out there. You're watching this session with the benefit of timing and scoring. Nick Tandy's on a quick one at the moment. quicker than he's been before in Sector 1. It's not going to trouble the top time, but it does look to me, gentlemen, as if he's sort of on schedule on the basis of his first sector at least, to be there and thereabouts that top 6.
Yeah, he's into that middle sector as we see Florsch going across the line. 18th overall. A lot of time lost in that middle sector. At the end, that's a critical one. Middle sector, for information, basically is from just before Tetra Rouge all the way down towards Indianapolis and out of Arnage. And just as you come out of Arnage, that hits into the third sector, which then runs you all the way through Porsche curves and the Ford chicane.
At the moment, as things stand, I think I'm right in saying that both the American entered Ferraris would be in the Hyperpole, and neither of the factory cars would be.
Yeah. It may be a European effect. I don't know what European effect there is, but...
As far as the top 6 in GTM at the moment, with 12 minutes still to go, 98 Aston Martin at the moment heads that order. Then it's the second of the Astons in GTM, the TF Sport car. Golf Racing third. Ben Barker obviously recovered that lost time. All of those cars, by the way, ahead of the 51 factory Ferrari.
Yeah.
Then the 77 Dempsey Proton car, Matt Campbell out in that car at the moment. Matteo Caroli is out in the Mentos liveried 56 Project 1 car, and Niklas Nielsen, Ferrari factory driver, in the 83 AF Corsa car. That's the WEC Championship leading car. Something of a mixed bag there.
Here we've got Nick Tandy coming down into the final chicane. You said it was a quick first sector. Second sector was not too bad at all either. And now coming through the final part of Ford, a little bit squirrely on the power. He's trying to get the power down through those good years, and that puts him into 6th, so he's actually just the last man in that Superpole at this moment in time.
Did he make track limits at that final turn there, Al? He looked very wide.
Good question.
He did look wide there.
Let's take a look at GTE AM. Who's this kicking up the dust? Everybody's running out very wide there. I would suggest that's not a good place to do that. That's the Felipe Fraga driven 57 Team Project 1 car.
Just the barrier at the rear end of the car there.
Yeah, he sort of slapped it square-ish, didn't he?
If you don't quite get the front hooked up in the change of direction between turning left and turning right, then because you're rising up over the hill and then the road falls away, it's also very dirty. And if you see the amount of dust and dirt that's there, then that's also offline, and then it just washes out. And I've seen quite a few people just running down there.
And it's windy as well. It's quite windy down that way. If you look at the track as they come over that crest, it is very dirty indeed. And I just wonder if that dust that's been kicked up, it's incredibly dry here. Most of the grass around the circuit you'll see is brown rather than green. And I just wonder whether that's rather dustier than some of these guys are expecting.
I think so. 22, ready to go back out. And Paul Di Resta going out in it now. Out comes number 7 Toyota, Chito Lopez, and Brendan Hartley we just saw slamming the door on the number 8 car. He went out a little earlier, a minute or two ago, so he's on an out lap, and so too is Jose Maria Lopez. The Mentos Porsche just behind, going up the hill. That's another of the Project 1 cars, and that is currently Matteo Cairoli. That is in the top 6 in 6th position, the 83 Mentos Porsche. 23 thousandths behind the top 5, and 49 thousandths behind him is the car that's in 7th. So GTE AM entries into Superpole are definitely not fixed. Speaking of which, out goes the WeatherTech Ferrari, car number 63. The Pro class with the green number backings. Looking again at the ever-changing moods of LMP2. Brundle hasn't found another better lap in the 32 United car. That's down in 10th. There's Ben Hanley in the white Dragon Speed car. They've got a blue Dragon Speed car. So if they go up to a 3-car entry, presumably the third one will be red. And there is the Dragon Speed garage. Ben Hanley, as you can see, down in 9th, 25 thousandths behind the 38 Jota car. That's 97 thousandths behind 31. That's 24 thousandths behind the number 16 G-Drive by Algarve car. So Nico Jamin for Panis, Antonio Felix da Costa just leaving the pits in 38, the Jota Goodyear shod car. And Nick de Vries top of the pile in LMP2 for Racing Team Netherlands. That car currently on pit road.
And if they're not in it, now's the time to get out there and do it.
Do you know what? It is going to be a dip for the line in LMP2. It is so close. 71 and 51. The factory A, of course, of Ferraris out of it. Here's 71's Davide Rigon. Long-time partner Sam Bird having to surrender his Ferrari seat because of the clashes, and there's the irony, which never actually existed in the end between his Formula E campaign.
Up to third for the number 71 car.
There you go, there's a decent lap. Ben Hanley has parked the Dragon Speed car.
Jean-Eric Verne to the top for G-Drive in P2.
Oh, goodness me.
Nicolas Jamin in P7 in the Panis Racing just had his lap deleted as well.
You just saw a very happy bunch of G-Drive guys.
1-2 for TDS.
95 and 97, still Aston Martin. Ferrari third with a 71 car, then 91 and 92 the Porsches. 63 remains in the frame.
One of the interesting parts of this is clearly the pace is there for both Goodyear and Michelin runners.
Yep.
To on board with the 26 car, and absolutely stand on the brakes.
Yeah, that was the WeatherTech Ferrari coming up the hill.
It's 50-50 in terms of 4 Michelin and 4 Goodyears in the top 8. There's a quick view there of Ryan Cullen getting in as Nick Tandy was out.
Loses lap 5 for track limits at MP 33. Car 26 loses lap 5.
That's coming out of karting at 26. Jean-Eric Verne, lap 5.
Time.
That's it, going to be pinged, so it's back to Nick de Vries' quickest overall in a 32.648. A 26.648.
Yeah.
It was this corner here where he got done, just the one before that where he ran wide. Trying to keep the momentum up through there.
Lucid Racing's Com Ledigar in the 61 Ferrari, using all the curb that there is to use. And behind the Richard Mille LMP2 car, Sophia Flörsch putting in the laps. And all 3 of those drivers have only raced in prototypes since the beginning of the season, and only sparingly, as Graham said earlier, they've not at any stage in 3 European Le Mans Series outings had the same 3 drivers in the car. So they are all looking for support from the team, which they will definitely get from Philippe Signot and the Senior Tech team who are running that program, as well as the Senior Tech Alpine Elf car. And there is just waiting for the, well, not for the starting gun, but for the finishing gun, I think. Can't see that car leaving now, only 4 minutes 40 left to go. It's going to have to be a pretty quickly pedalled out lap if he's going to start one.
Talking of a quickly pedalled lap, da Costa in the Jota.
Yeah.
That's sitting there, and he's been pretty quick in first and second sector so far, as we're looking at the Project 1 car coming through and underneath the bridge dipping down in towards the S's.
Top 6, as we've got 4 minutes and 15 seconds remaining, is the 29 Racing Team Netherlands. This is LMP2. Jackie Chan DC Racing, the 37 car on the Goodyears, the 22 United Autosports car. The 26 G-Drive car drops to 4th with that lost lap for Jean-Eric Verne. High Class Racing 5th in the number 33 car, and then the 16 G-Drive Racing by Algarve car. They are the top 6 at the moment. The gap between 6th and 7th, which is the bounce, if you like, is about 2,500 per second.
Well, in LMP2, the only man not out with the dog in this fight is Racing Team Netherlands' Nick de Vries. He's sitting parked in the garage, and there's no point leaving now. He won't get another lap, but he might not need one. Will Stevens for Jackie Chan DC Racing, 37, is second. He's out on track. This car, Antonio Felix da Costa for Jota Sport, is 8th in P2, and this will be the start of a flying lap from him.
And now the triangular screen lights up blue sectors for which one have we got here? The Cool Racing, 32 United Autosports, Signatec Alpine Elf, Da Costa does get up into the top 6. He just bounces back Ryan Cullen, who's come out in the number 16 car. So all of a sudden, of the top 10 cars, 6 of them have got blue sectors in Sector 1.
Yeah, but the rest of Brundle's lap was a bit of a horror story. Thomas Laurent, that could produce something for Senior Tech Alpine, the 36 car.
What will produce something, I think, is Paul di Resta in the 22, the United Autosports. He's just had a very, very quick sector. This is his teammate Alex Brundle, who we saw pumping a very good lap in there, but having taken away with track limits. Alex is down in 10th overall at the moment. However, it is Paul di Resta that's very quick in that first sector.
Thomas Laurent very quick in Sector 2 for Senior Tech Alpine as well. It's this lap and no other for him, probably. Oh, I don't know, 2 minutes, 20 minutes. Yes, he might get one more if there's enough in the tyre.
In GTE Pro, it's going to come down to between the 51 car that's out there and the WeatherTech car for the 6th place or better in the standings here. There's the 71 car is safe. The Risi Competizione car is in the pits.
The 51 car here is holding up the AM class Ferrari. That's how quickly it isn't going. Yeah, you need to take the whip to it.
He's going to go now. This is him starting the lap.
Yeah, 2 minutes to go inside the final 2 minutes. So WeatherTech's Tony Wielander with another good lap. More green sectors coming in from Wielander and from Thomas Laurent.
Yeah, but not a very good middle sector, even though it's green by Laurent there, as we're watching Wielander now coming through the left-hander and then jumped on board to the Signatech.
Because that was Laurent going by Wielander and really in proper full take-no-prisoners mode, bearing in mind the last time he made contact in traffic, it wrote off the Orica.
At Spa.
And nearly him as well, yeah.
Here he comes, and he's got no traffic for the Ford chicane. He's right on the edge here, isn't he?
Oh, he's made a mistake.
Over the edge. He's over the edge.
Yeah, he went in too quickly into the left, couldn't get it on the right. No, that's track limits for sure.
Yeah, but he's got a minute, so this one has to count.
Yeah, but he's got a ton of gravel in the car and also in the tyres.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to be fastest, he just has to go faster. That was a really rocking lap from Thomas.
Here we see it again, he just hits that curve, the car doesn't settle, then he bounces over the right-hand one, and that's him over the grass, through the gravel, straight lines it, and then on his way.
I'll add this in at the moment. There's an awful lot of young drivers at the moment, very keen to attract the attention of an awful lot of very important people in the paddock behind us.
Yes.
And this is one of them.
May I just say that he actually lost it with the rear end of the car. When he turned in, the rear end just moved around a little bit, so he had to open the steering slightly, which then put him into the wrong position on the track.
The rest of third, 3:27.148. He will be safe.
That wasn't a very good middle sector from di Resta. If you looked at it, the first and the third sector were good. The middle sector, maybe a little traffic or something there. So that says there's a bit more in the tank for that United Autosports car as well.
Yeah, Lapierre's improved, but not enough. He's still only there in 12th position of 3:28.509.
Wasn't a great middle sector for Nico. 1 and 3 were quicker than the cars done before.
Checkered flag is out. Crossing the line now is Antonio Felix da Costa. He will not improve.
And Brundle, can he go from 11th into the top 5 positions, top 6 positions? How close is he going to get?
Oh, he does.
5th place. And that bumps out the high-class car that's been in there since time immemorial.
Bumps out the Jota car.
I beg your pardon, 38. Yeah, here, no.
Da Costa.
It puts them in very quickly. It takes a while to take them out. You're absolutely right. So Da Costa out by 1100s. Is Da Costa on a lap?
No,
he's done.
He's taken the checkered flag.
Thomas Laurent will not do it. He's 10 seconds off in his first sector.
So when Da Costa, too many Ds, when Da Costa took the checkered flag, he was in.
And now he isn't. The only man out there, I think, with a chance is, and it's an outside chance, is Lapierre. Lapierre is not quick enough in sector 1, but if he has a clear lap for the rest of this lap out, there's a possibility.
Yeah, but he's going to have to be mightily, mightily quick in sector 2 and sector 3.
It's Nico Lapierre. Oh, now then, where are we in GTE Pro? 91 is in, isn't it, already? So
third place AF Corsa's just had a lap deleted as a Porsche. This is a 51 of the teammate Pierre Guidi.
He is last. And a long way back. He's 3500s behind 7th. So he's over half a second, 0.6 of a second out of the top 6.
He needs to do better. This is 3:52.508 is the cut-off here.
This is a decent lap. It would leave him 0.3 behind, maybe 0.5 behind. That could put him in.
Is it going to be AF Corsa? Is it going to be WeatherTech for the Hyperpole?
Reigning
Top
world
6.
champion. Cross the line. Where does he end up?
He's
Third. Well, finally, the two Ferraris have gone third and fourth ahead of the two Porsches, 48 thousandths ahead of the 91 Porsche, but a last gasp lap to get himself and his car and his teammates into Hyperpole.
And we can be thankful the dogs are not allowed in the paddock, because Tony Verlander would be looking for one to kick.
Well, there's a very happy-looking Fritz van Aert. You saw Philippe Leloup there in the Toyota garage with the eyebrow chat. And get a front card. So, Racing Team Netherlands, look how jammed in everybody is. Yeah, first safety car of the race. If it's early, oh boy, is it going to be carnage in the pits.
Yeah, but you don't really want to pit under safety cars here, because the pit lane exit's closed.
Yeah.
And that's why you stagger and you try to have, you know, a little bit of an understanding with your teammates. Aston Martin are going to be happy because they're quickest in GTE Pro and also in GTE Am, with Augusto Farfus quickest
Big
in the Am
smile
category.
Big smile behind the mask of Ross Gunn. There's the 42 Cool Racing entry.
They're not just fastest, they're 1-2 in both those classes.
Yeah.
The TF Sport car second quickest in GT Am. It's the two factory Aston Martins at the top of the tree.
Oh boy, we
didn't
see that with the TF Sport. We didn't document that at all. Ben Barker third in the Gulf Racing entry. Lusic Racing went fourth fastest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, again, we were watching LMP2 play out. Fifth quickest Dempsey Proton 77, Matt Campbell. And sixth, Team Project One, the Mentos car, Matteo Cairoli, another Porsche Junior driver doing the donkey work there. And Thomas Laurent, yeah, just carrying a fraction too much speed into the first part of the Ford chicane. And the car, there you go, skated over that first curb on the left, and after that he was heading for the barriers.
Absolutely, Alan's absolutely right. That started 2 corners before it finished, didn't it, that incident? The gap, by the way, the disappointment for AF Corsa in the 83 car, the championship leading car for the WEC, 21 thousandths per second is the gap between 6th and 7th in that qualifying session. Nicholas Nielsen doesn't make it. Matteo Cairoli, Matt Campbell, Com Ledegaard, Ben Barker, Charlie Eastwood and then Augusto Farfus do make it.
That is, or was, once the number 17.
That's the 28.
IDEX sport car. No, the black tub that we saw with no bodywork on it at all was the number 17 car. It now has nothing on it. And that was all quite breathless. And in the daylight as well. It's another one of the unusual things at Le Mans. There's another one in the corner of our booth. You'll recognise his name if you're a motorsport fan. It's a Toby Moody, who is coming in and being very unusual. We can't show you, unfortunately, because luckily for you and for us, we do not have cameras in the booth. Well, Aston Martin looking strong. Are they heading towards a late BOP change before the race on Saturday?
No. I have to say, by the way, this issue with masks, I turned around and I thought that some male model had wanted it. It turns out it's Toby Moody.
Yeah.
So it looks nothing like Toby Moody with a mask.
I won't even venture to say what it was he was modelling. LMP1, Toyota's 1-2, 7 ahead of the reigning double champions, number 8. Rebellion with the number 1 car going third ahead of Bicoles, and Bicoles only just ahead of the troubled number 3 Rebellion racing entry. So all 5 of those cars will go into Hyperpole tomorrow. Hyper what now? From 11:30 to 12 local time. The top cars in each of the classes will battle for supremacy in qualifying. Racing Team Netherlands, Jackie Chan, DC Racing 37. Second, United's 32 and 22 cars, both in the top 5. Bracketing G-Drive with their number 26 car, their regular team, and High Class in 6, just ahead of Jota. In the GT Pro class, AMR with the 95 and 97 cars, AF Corsa finally taking the whip to the horse with 51 and 71, and Porsche GT team 91 and 92. Those are our regular full season entries, and if they weren't in, you would be very surprised. In terms of GTE AM, well, AMR ahead of TF Sport 2 Astons, Gulf Racing Porsche ahead of Lusic's Ferrari, the 77 regular season Dempsey Proton Porsche, and 56, the Project One car of the reigning leaders, or the current leaders of the championship, the 56 car. So for Tom Laurent, a tiny bit of oversteer in the final chicane saw him hit not one but two curbs and fly through the gravel, and unfortunately there was just not enough left in the tank to get the job done. Garage mates alongside the number 50 car that finished in 20th place in LMP2 with the all-female crew. New to the car, new to Le Mans, at least in this kind of category, and a whole lot of uphill learning. So those are our qualifying
some big scalps.
results.
Some big scalps have gone already. Now here's our first bite of the cherry for the Hyperpole system. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. I think it gives a bit of drama. I'll be very interested to hear what social media's got to say about it, and that's before we get to Hyperpole itself. And let's not forget, for me, as Richard Dean, I'm sure is very happy indeed with his drivers.
You could just see the edges of the smile around the mask. He's smiling like the Joker right now.
I remember he's from Yorkshire, it doesn't come naturally.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
But the other thing to just remind viewers of is Hyperpole. There's another thing where you press the restart button, and that's on tyres. They get 2 full sets of tyres they can use for Hyperpole only.
Wow.
So that's going to be good. Racing driver at the other end of the booth, they're getting quite excited by that prospect.
And there's only 30 minutes, and it's not a 2.5-mile Grand Prix circuit, so getting 2 sets of tyres used is going to require a bit of deliberation.
Mistakes are going to be punished.
Yeah, and there are going to be some mistakes as well. So Toyota 1-2, and it is the points leaders, car number 7, that is ahead of car number 8 at the moment, just on speed. But the number 8 team, 2/3 of that, has won Le Mans for the last 2 years in a row. And you know that they would be desperate to make it a 3rd year. And of course, for Brendan Hartley, that could be victory for another different manufacturer overall here at Le Mans.
Would be the only man to do that with 2 different factory teams.
2 German-based teams.
In the hybrid era. But joining one man who is in this race that's done it for 2 factory teams, not quite in that era, that's Romain Dumas, of course. But, yep, there you go. So far, qualifying in this rather quicker fire qualifying format that we're used to at Le Mans over the last several decades, I think that delivered.
See, people like Alan McNish and all the Formula E drivers and so on, we're going, 3 track sessions in a day. Ha!
Yeah.
Hold my beer. We've done 6 races in 10 days, so, but for Le Mans, this is very frantic. And actually, I was talking to a couple of the team owners and chief engineers yesterday, and they said, for the engineers, this is going to be the hardest Le Mans they'll ever have done, because there is no time to breathe.
Or analyse.
I mean, look,
the other thing.
Look what's happened to, unfortunately, to the same team, IDEC Sport losing 2 cars.